Welcome to the students of first PUC. This is session 2 of chapter 5, laws of motion. In the previous session, we had discussed about what is a force, what do you mean by the state of an object and change in state of an object. From that, we understood Newton's first law of motion, then momentum, Newton's second law of motion and Newton's third law of motion. With the help of the definition for momentum, Newton's second law of motion and Newton's third law of motion, today we will be learning law of conservation of momentum. Let us begin. Before learning law of conservation of momentum, we will look into some mathematics related to momentum and change in momentum. Momentum is a vector quantity. You represent it by small p with a vector notation, and it is mass into velocity. Here velocity is a vector, therefore momentum is also a vector. So momentum is a vector and it has both magnitude and direction. In terms of magnitude, the magnitude of P is represented by either vector P and then the symbol for magnitude of vector P, or simply P. By mentioning just a letter P without the vector notation, it means the magnitude of the momentum, and in this case it is just m into v. We do not use the vector notation. We are only considering the magnitude of the momentum. Then change in momentum. When I say that the momentum of a particle has changed, which means generally in mechanics, the mass of the particle or mass of the object is not going to change. What changes is velocity. So by mentioning change in velocity, it can either change in direction or it can change in magnitude. Either of it implies change in momentum. The magnitude may not change, but still the direction changes. Even then the momentum is changed. So change in momentum, can represent it by delta P. And when I am saying that the momentum has changed, the mass is generally a constant. What would have changed is the vector. The other way of representing change in momentum is the final momentum minus the initial momentum, or mass into the final velocity minus the mass into initial velocity. Here mass is common and I can represent it by final velocity minus initial velocity. So we will be making use of these notations today to prove law of conservation of momentum. From your first PUC, you will also be representing the change in momentum or a very small change in momentum using the other notation, which is dP. So in this case I can write the change in momentum as m into dV. The symbol dP or dV generally arises in differentiation. We will be learning about differentiation from first PUC in your mathematics. So in all those cases, instead of delta P or delta V, we will be using the term dP or dV, which is a very small change in momentum or a very small change in velocity. The other way of telling it is change in momentum as the limit tends to 0. Here is law of conservation of momentum. It states that the total momentum of an isolated system of interacting particles is conserved. To understand this statement better, we will first look into the proof of this statement in case of a system of two particles, or in case of a system of two interacting particles, or in case of collision between two particles. From that proof, later we will be solving a problem which has been given in your NCERT textbook. After going through these three, the statement, the proof and a numerical problem, we will be able to understand the law of conservation of momentum. So, let me begin the proof for this statement in case of a system of two interacting particles. So, let us look into the statement of law of conservation of momentum. The total momentum of an isolated system of interacting particles is conserved. So, let us look into the terms here. What do you mean by an isolated system of particles? An isolated system of interacting particles. Let us consider there is empty space where there are two objects moving in the same direction, but the magnitude of their velocity or their speeds are different. Here, one object has a greater speed than the other object. If you calculate the total momentum, which is the momentum of object 1 plus the momentum of object 2, that total momentum will have to be the same even after collision. If I calculate the momentum of the object 1 and the momentum of the object 2, if I add the total momentum after collision, it has to be the same or equal to the total momentum before collision. So, we will be proving this with mathematics using Newton's laws of motion. We will prove that the total momentum before collision is going to be equal to total momentum after collision. So, let us begin. Consider a system of two particles with masses m1 and m2 moving with velocities v1i, which means initial velocity, and v2i. Also, v1i is greater than v2i. So, that is what the first diagram here is been depicting. We have two objects of mass m1 and m2. One is both of them moving in the same direction, while the magnitude of velocity of the first object is greater than the second object. Then what happens? As the velocity here is greater than the second one, so after some time there is definitely a collision. The object 1 is going to collide with object 2. After some time they both collide and the velocities change to v1f and v2f. So, this diagram is depicting the state of the objects after collision. When it collides, you know from Newton's third law of motion, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, or force on object 2 due to the first object is going to be equal and opposite to force on the first object due to the second object. So, after collision what happens? The velocities change. Here I am depicting that the initial greater velocity of object 1 has become lesser now, and the initial lesser velocity of object 2 has now become greater. So, what happens next? The total momentum of the system before collision is, I will take it as T initial, which is going to be equal to m into v1i plus m1 v1i plus m2 v2i. The momentum, the initial momentum of particle 1 plus the initial momentum of particle 2. Let me take this as equation 1. Similarly, the total momentum of the system after collision is going to be the final momentum m1 v1f plus m2 v2f. So, this is going to be the final momentum where the final momentum of object 1 plus the final momentum of the object 2. Today we have to prove finally that the final momentum is going to be equal to the initial momentum. Therefore, I can say that the total momentum of a system of interacting particles is conserved or is a constant. For the future reference, I have noted down the equations again here, you need not write it again. From Newton's third law of motion, at collision we have the force on object 1 due to the second object is equal to minus the force on object 2 due to the first object. Multiply this by the time of interaction, so which implies F12 into delta t, which is equal to minus F21 into delta t. So, when they both collide, they both are in contact for a very short interval of time. That short interval of time is what is delta t. We will have to recall from the previous session that force into time gives us impulse, and this is again equal to change in momentum. Impulse is change in momentum. So, which means change in momentum of object 1 is going to be equal to m1 into the final velocity of object 1 minus m1 into the initial momentum of object 1. So, this is the change in momentum of object 1. This is going to be equal to minus m2 v2f minus m2 v2 initial. The final momentum minus initial momentum of object 2 gives the change in momentum of object 2. We will further continue. So, this gives m1 v1f minus m1 v1i is equal to minus of plus is going to be minus m2 v2f minus of minus gives me plus m2 v2i. Just rearrange this. If you rearrange this, I will finally get m1 v1i plus m2 v2i is equal to m1 v1f plus m2 v2f, which means m1 v1f plus, bring it to the left hand side, m2 v2f is going to be equal to, bring m1 v1i to the right hand side, the negative sign becomes positive. So, m1 v1i plus m2 v2i. Now, look at this, m1 v1f plus m2 v2f is nothing but the final momentum of the system of particles. m1 v1i plus m2 v2i is nothing but the initial momentum of the system of particles. So, this implies the total momentum after collision is equal to the total momentum before collision. So, we have proved the law of conservation of momentum in case of a system of two interacting particles or in case of the collision between two particles. Using this law of conservation of momentum, we will now solve one of the numericals from your NCERT textbook. Here is the numerical. A shell of mass 0.020 kg is fired by a gun of mass 100 kg. If the muzzle speed of the shell is 80 meter per second, what is the recoil speed of the gun? Let us note down the data given. We have seen in the television, in many of the movies, especially when there is usage of a machine gun or a heavy gun. Whenever they are firing, there is the recoil of a gun, or the gun is being moving backwards when there is been firing from the gun. So, this is what is the problem given here. We have to find out what is the recoil speed, or with what speed it moves backwards. Here is the data given. Mass of the shell is given, which is 0.020 kg. Mass of the gun is given 100 kg. Speed of the shell after firing is 80 meter per second. Here it's been mentioned as the muzzle speed of the shell. Finally it means the speed of the shell. We are supposed to find the speed of the gun. So, before firing, both the gun and the shell are in rest. Therefore, the initial speed of the shell and the initial speed of the gun are nothing but 0. We will use the law of conservation of momentum. Using law of conservation of momentum, we have mg into Vgi, that is the initial momentum of the gun, plus ms into Vsi, which is the initial momentum of the shell. So, the sum of these two has to be equal to mg into Vgf, the final momentum of the gun, plus ms into Vsf, the final momentum of the shell. So, total momentum before firing has to be equal to the total momentum after firing. This term is equal to 0, because the initial speed of the gun when it is at rest is 0. Similarly, for this shell, this is going to be equal to 0. So, which implies mg into Vgf plus ms into Vfs is equal to 0. Rearrange, mg Vgf is going to be equal to minus of ms into Vsf, and finally the recoil speed of the gun is going to be minus ms by mg into Vsf. So, let us note down the data. So, this is going to be equal to minus of mass of the shell is 0.020 kg divided by mass of the gun was 100 kg multiplied by the velocity of the shell after firing was 80 meter per second. So, finally, velocity is in meter per second. On calculating this, we will be getting this as 0.016 meter per second, or 1.6 centimeter per second. So, using the law of conservation of momentum, we have found out what is the recoil speed of the gun. That is all for this session. Thank you.